As a working journalist since the 1970s and as a lover of history, I understand as well as anyone the importance of rich historical sources. But I also know how essential it is to have them catalogued and preserved. In the vaults of the University of Limerick's Glucksman Library sits the McAnally collection, an extensive treasure trove of over 5,000 printed books, 15,000 postcards, and countless brochures and flyers on Irish travel and tourism. This splendid collection, covering all 32 counties of Ireland, was acquired by the National Centre for Tourism Policy Studies with the very generous support of Dermot Smurfit. Their aim now, in partnership with UL's Glucksman Library, is to bring this magnificent collection to life.
So what we have here is a wonderful collection of travel literature. Straight away you'll see even names everybody is familiar with, and the first thing we notice here would be Sir Oscar Wilde's father and work on
Sir William Wilde.
You can see the range of materials, the tourists' books, the guides, pictorial books, the books on rambling. The real strength of the collection is the ephemera, the material that people would pick up, read it for the duration of their trip, material that was disposable. He knew it wouldn't be in the larger collections in Ireland, but he wanted his collection to be as complete as possible. That's the real uniqueness in this collection, the fact that it's all kept in one place.
Some of the most interesting books here are the personal memoirs. I mean, you've got really big names: Edmund Spenser, Sir Walter Scott, Yeats, George Moore, Thackeray. And here is a lovely book, An Irish Journey by Sean O'Fuelon, with illustrations by Paul Henry, no less. And of course, when you got personal memoirs, you got personal opinions. Here's an opinion here from the Welshman Heraldus Cambrensis in the 12th century. The Irish are a filthy people wallowing in vice. You see that bias with English travel writers, but when you've got Americans writing about Ireland, they're seeing the poverty, but they're blaming the British for the condition of ordinary Irish people. So there are plenty of insights here into political and social and economic attitudes of the time.
The McAnally collection goes very much in tandem with our long-term focus, which is on library development as a resource. Having a collection like this allows us to explore over time how marketing developed, how we represented ourselves in the public sector, and how we represented ourselves in the private sector, but very importantly, how others saw us.
It's fascinating here to see the beginnings of the way that Ireland marketed itself, the beginnings of what is now our biggest indigenous industry, tourism. So you'll come across books about places we know and love, like Killarney, or little guides like this one to Dublin. And often it's the ads that are the most interesting. One of the ads here says, "At home to visitors at the world's largest brewery, guess where?" Yeah, Guinness's. Switzer's department store, an interesting place. The language itself is fascinating. The other thing, of course, because we're talking about Ireland, is the beginning of domestic religious tourism, the trips to Knock, and the trips on pilgrimage to Lough Derg. You can see as well, over the decades, the changes in print and design, and you're getting wonderful colour books like The Land of Ireland, really glossy stuff, so different from what we've seen earlier. What the McAnally collection is, it's a sort of a mirror in time. It shows us how we see ourselves, but also how we wanted ourselves to be seen. Through this collection, you can chart over the centuries changes in the way people travelled. And as different forms of travel developed and places became more accessible, more people went. You're starting from beautifully illustrated books like this one here, the history of the McAnally coach period. But then, of course, you developed up along the line to canal boats, to railways, to buses, to cars. I mean, we have here, for instance, an early AA road book of Ireland, which was very important to people finding their way around. So as routes developed, people were able to travel. They were able to travel faster and they were able to travel more cheaply, and that's how the tourism industry grew.
So the first endeavour is to develop a catalogue which will be a guide for the McAnally collection. Such an endeavour will take us at least 2 years by a professional cataloguer. Our next task then will be to find funding for those who want to explore the McAnally in much more detail. Once we can begin to digitise, again another costly endeavour, but if we can digitise more and more of what's available, this then becomes more publicly available to international scholars.
What we hope we can do with the collection to take it to the next level is not only to create a catalogue of all the books, but it's also to catalogue and index all the material in the books, including the illustration, the townlands, the areas, bring it together in an online open access database and make it as accessible as possible to researchers.
We've shown you only a fraction of the treasures in the McAnally collection. Properly catalogued and preserved, this could be a priceless resource for academics and scholars, for the media, and indeed for the tourism industry. But it's important for all of us because it shows us not only who we were, but how we wanted to be seen. The McAnally collection goes right to the heart of Irish identity.